So this, if anybody doesn't know me, my name is Scott Pollock. I own Mr. Royale. I'm also on the Waco board. Been camping all my life, basically. I'm a second generation owner, 45 years. And so seen a lot through the years between Waco and just your own personal experience. But like I said, we're just going to try to get things going a little bit here on electrical issues, but we can talk about anything. Obviously, like we have been, most of you guys have been here all morning with the different seminars, so this one won't be much different. I don't have a handout or anything for you. Generally, we're just going to talk a little bit about what I've got going on in my place and questions that people might have. Everybody, has different electric companies that they're dealing with as far as that goes, and different inspections, different counties that you're working with on what you can get away with and maybe can't get away with, and that type of thing. So, and there's some stuff going on in the industry that we'll bring up as we go too. A little bit about my park. I'm on 95 acres actually. I have 300 sites and cabins. So my electrical input is coming from basically two different sides of the park. I have about 14 services coming into the park, spread out obviously to handle that. Most of them are 400 amp. I do have a couple 600 amp services. And in general, just like everybody else, if you've been in it for a while, upgraded over the years. Started out in the early 70s with either no electricity or just 20 amp screw and fuse trons, on most of the sites. Everything now over the years has been upgraded to basically almost everything in my park is 50 amp now. We do have a few 30 amp things and that I upgrade as needed or whatever, but a lot of sites I can still get away with that on if I don't need to have 50, but most do. Almost everything is loop fed, 50, 30, 20 pedestals. I do have one area that used to be a tenting area that had no power, was upgraded to power, and that stuff is off of a central box fed out individually to different, there's like 10 sites there in one little group area. Otherwise everything else is upgraded to loop fed. Basically all aluminum, very well. They don't have anything overhead anywhere or anything like that. As far as equipment, I brought a little bit of stuff just to kind of get us talking on things. One thing that I want to touch base so I don't forget right away is, pretty much everybody probably knows what this is. It's really a fence post driver with an added insert for a ground rod pounder. This is when it works good, flip it over to finish it off, but that's just, just little modifications like that. I'm sure other people have done stuff like that, but it works really well with that. The reason I brought it though was to talk about ground rods in general. Many of you don't know, a year or two ago, Arvik and Wade Elliott, who's from Utility Supply, led the charge. He sits on the National Electric Committee, and one of the new proposed rules was that they were going to make all campsites, all pedestals, everything in a campground require you to have 2 ground rods at each one. He went to bat for us on that, got it, basically didn't pass, but that would have been a huge economical thing for everybody. And they were going to, try and make it retro and everything and all that. So I figured two ground rods installation, whether you do it yourself or whatever, what that would take. That's just one of the things when we talk about Arvik or Waco, what your fees go for, as far as your membership fees. That's just one of the things, if you want to call it legislatively or code-wise, or whatever, that has been worked on that has saved you, by far saved you your fees for many years. And that's a lot of stuff we don't see or hear about, maybe even hear about. So I just wanted to point that out, and that's the reason I brought that, is it was a big savings for everybody. Things like that are head off that you really maybe wouldn't know about. Just figure how many sites you have, and $100 to $150 cost or whatever plus. You're going to pay somebody to do it, on each one. And so he got that taken care of. So always working on stuff like that. If you know Wade, I'm not sure most everybody knows Wade if you've been here or anything else, but he has Utility Supply. There's a distributor. There's other distributors that work into it, but like I said, he does on our board, sit on the national committee, and takes care of that kind of stuff. So, really good guy if you have any questions. There's obviously other vendors here that sell electrical equipment and all that stuff too. So they're all good, but weight does a lot of help that way. A couple little things, you know, obviously everybody's young got bigger tools for bigger wire and stuff as far as cutting stuff or however you do it. One thing that I know I brought years ago that a lot of people were interested in is this 4x4 Plus for stripping wire. It has 4 different dies on it, basically, for different size wire. This is a piece of 4/0, and a lot of guys used to use their jackknife or whatever, and basically you just do it like that. You know, down number 2, I got 4/0, 2/0, number 2, and 0 here on this. So this works great. You know, you're down, especially if you're down low or something tight, it doesn't take anything. You're not in there with your jackknife or anything. Strip it back to whatever, it just peels it out. But I got a couple more pieces here. We'll cut this one out. But you can check it out like this.
Where'd you get that?
That's I believe, I'll tell you the truth, I was going to look that up, but I didn't. You can find them online. I don't know if it's on I think there's an address on there or something. I'll get you the information if you really need it, but you can find them online. Get them sized for different dies, and go from there. Really handy tool. I want to say it probably is going to cost you nowadays. That's pretty old. Probably $100, you know, or something, I would think, depending on what dies you want. But you can pass it around. People can try it some more or whatever. Like I said, I got some more here to do if you wanted to do it. Works really good. So if you need info on it, I'll get you up. Sorry, I didn't bring that. I do everything, I should say, we do everything in our park. I don't know, I can't remember in all my life. I know it hasn't since I took over, I've ever had an electrician do anything. Some of you guys can get rid of that, get away with that, some of you guys can't. But all the wire, all the sewer, all the water in my park has been put in by my family. We have 2 trenchers, a big hydrostatic ARPS one that will go 6.5 feet and 4 to 6 inches wide, and a smaller case one. But basically hooked up and set all pedestals, dug all the wire, did everything for all the years in the sewer. So, like I said, nowadays it's getting harder and harder to do that. And there are some changes coming on that also. But as most of you do a lot of your stuff on your own, and we always have. So kind of keep all that nice to have equipment. I keep everything as far as electrical stuff. We were talking earlier, the man cave one about your sheds and you know how you do stuff. All my electrical stuff, just because I have kids helping me or whoever you have helping, you know that. One of the things I like to do is keep all my boxes, different colors and stuff like that, just so it's easier for me to say, go get the big yellow electrical box. So all my electrical stuff is yellow. So if I got a toolbox or anything, that's just to carry it. That's not my toolbox.
That's an electrical box.
You know what this is. Everybody knows what this is. Holiday wholesale tub. Multiple use. But, you know, little things like that just to make it easier. When I tell them to go get some on my truck or whatever, I got a drill box, I got an electrical box, I got plumbing, you know, and the different colors. And then I don't have to go get it myself. I can send them on a golf cart for something I don't have. Like, you know, make it a lot easier so they don't, I can just say, go get the big yellow electrical box. They're different sizes, you know, I have 2 that have made most stuff in them and go from there. So, works out good. I do keep a little, you know, for wiring, I keep my own thing, that 4x4, and of course, basically the 3 different Allen wrenches for doing lugs in boxes, and, you know, some anti-ox, and, you know, little shit and things like this, you know, stuff that, basically everything, I keep it all in one area, so not looking for it. I keep it in a cabinet in my shed, so I know, you know, right where everything's at. All this stuff would be in one area separate from everything else. Anybody have any questions on any of that so far? Go ahead, bud.
I know Wade at one time said that you should go into your pedestals every spring and torque them.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I mean, I haven't done that.
I haven't either, but I have, you know, where you placed them and you go in there and you find that, oh, that wasn't as tight as it Because it seems like, you crank them as hard as you can when you install them, but you go back to change things or whatever, you find, oh, that isn't as good, or it hasn't been cleaned very well, and the bugs, and I've thought about that too, to go through, inspect each one, maybe blow them out, that type of stuff, things. I
We
don't
haven't
know
done
if
it either, but
anybody does that religiously.
We had a pedestal catch on fire last year, and the
Yeah.
guy was like, oh, loose wire, and then it popped off and marked, and
I took that class last year, the
Yeah.
FP, and he suggested doing it, so I went back and I went through 120 sites. And on the 120 sites, I probably was 50 in before I found anything that was loose. But I think out of the 120 pedestals, I probably found there were about 6 that I could crank, when I went through there. So, when it was all over, it was like, well, I did it. I'm not gonna do it again this year, because it had been 14 years. I had 5 that were loose. But I did find some that were loose, and I was surprised. Now, I didn't install them, my electrician did, and did he not tighten them all the way down when he did it? I don't know, but now I know that I've put my eye on all of them, and they were tight, so, I was surprised.
It's good practice, like a lot of other things, like I said, we all should do it.
And how long did that
Many
take
people
you
do it.
to go through 100 cities?
I don't know if other people do it, but one of the things that I learned, we've got sand and I get ants in my GFIs. So every year I open up my box anyway and I spray down the sides of the box and drop a mothball in each one. So I was in there anyway, so it didn't take me much longer. It took me about 3 hours, 4 hours to do that, to run through the park doing it, because I take somebody with me and I'm opening them and spraying, and I move to the next one, so they start putting them back together. So, it didn't take me much longer than what I would have done anyway. But for me, if I don't do it, I end up replacing,
Did the mothballs work?
something does. Between the spraying and the mothballs, I've really gone down. So, I figure it's cheap enough. It's $1 for
Yeah.
a thing of mothballs.
Yeah, ants
I
and
wouldn't
GFIs.
know for sure, but it certainly has cut down on the number of GFIs after.
Yeah, just going through and checking the GFIs, I guess, is one thing I do send one of the boys to do or whatever, just because that seems to be the biggest call, if anything, electrically. On a hot, busy weekend, they need this GFI, they're not using it, but they need to have it, and so going and replacing those, I always give Wade a hard time about it, because I think that these manufacturers put the cheapest GFIs they can find in there, but a lot of them actually are good Cooper stuff or whatever, but you point out to you, but it just seems like just a lot of problems with them.
Did he show you the new system he has with the GFI breaker?
Breaker, yeah.
Yeah, we don't replace GFIs anymore. We put the new breaker in, and that solved the problem. Yeah, it's a little more money.
A little more money is the thing, yeah.
It takes the same amount of time.
Yeah, and if you're, doing it now, but if you currently have everything all set up, GFIs already, it's just one of those things that you have to deal with, I guess.
Well, do they fit right in the old breaker slot?
Yep. Comes with a wire on it and everything. You just pop
you
it
can
out.
get it on ours too.
Yeah, you could do that with a lot of stuff's going that way.
So your
Like I said, it is a little more money.
Your stripper tools on Klein Tools.
$50? Strippers out Klein tool for $50.
Klein with a K.
Yeah, Klein's a big electric, that's cheap.
But how much did you pay for your breaker?
I want to say the whole, he sold them with the breaker and the plug. I want to say it was $30-something, maybe I'm wrong.
Because you gotta use weather resistant and tamper
So I
resistant.
bought a case of them, and I said, that's what we're doing, we're not messing with these GFIs anymore. Because, we have so much soil, and the ants are just everywhere, and we're there on Friday night, Saturday, and it's just the way it is,
Yeah, it's, like I said, it's an improvement, whether or not you want to change them all over or change them as you need to or whatever, and a little more cost. That, going through inspections, checking your boxes, maybe you check your breakers at the same time, as far as a lot of them might be getting weak. You can just feel them getting weaker and change it out then, so you don't have to worry about it on Friday night of, Memorial Day or whatever. It's just one more call, it's a simple thing, but, still, maybe that'd be something you could check out
Just putting the GFI on the 20 amp,
on the third.
on the 30s.
No, on the 20 amp.
Just a 20 amp, okay.
Put a regular 20 amp receptacle.
I'm just clarifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, Little things, and inspections probably is gonna save you time in the future. I'd say.
Don't you get a problem with the ants and the circuit breakers also?
No, because the circuit breaker doesn't generate the heat. It's all about that GFI generating heat, and they like to lay their eggs in there. And the eggs are moist, and that's what's burning out the GFI.
They are, they park there, protecting the circuit breakers.
Yeah.
Never had a problem with reception.
Yeah, I've seen them in, like she said, here breakers too, but not nearly as common as GFIs.
But I like the idea of opening them all up, at least blowing them all out, and maybe spraying, some residual spray in there.
Yeah, probably, like I said, anything's just gonna save you maybe some time when you're, everybody knows somebody's gonna back into electrical box or water spigot or whatever, it's gonna be Friday night or whatever, type of thing, and it's dark out or whatever. So anything you do to save yourself a little work. One of the other things you do, I don't know, depends if you do any splicing. I try not to do as little splicing as possible. This is just a big crimper. It'll go up to 4/0. If you got any of them crimp on splice type things that you need, it's kind of nice to have around. Just got a little gauge here. You just adjust the size, type of thing. So don't use it much, but nice to have around. Like I said, I try not to splice if I don't have to. If it's going to be so many feet to this next pedestal, I measure it out at a time and use that shorter piece of wire for something else in the future or whatever. But do as little underground splicing as possible, but have done it. If you do it, I don't know what anybody uses. There are some. This one is not, but I do make some. I don't know if you guys use these kits like this. Basically, they got an Allen head down underneath these caps, and put the wires in and put together. Usually got antiox and stuff inside of them already, inside the package here. And they do make them that are submersible, guaranteed submersible. So stick them in. They're expensive though, 40, 30 to $50, depending on who you.
Who's the maker of that one, Scott? Who makes that?
This is Ilsco. I got it from a place here in town, but it's not the normal ones that I use. They were out of them, so I think I just grabbed one of these out of my cabinet.
You like that better than aluminum current plugs?
Yeah, I do. I think it's a lot, faster and everything else. But that's what's nice about these. And like I said, they guarantee them submersible. Just do anything else, just stick it in there and crank her down, and that juice will start oozing out of here. And
I've looked at them, but like I say, the expense of them, but
yeah,
we're doing underground splices all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, things that burn up all the time.
yeah. If you're not passing, if you're using a shrink wrap type thing or anything like that, used to. But I can remember doing them years ago, where you'd put a shrink wrap on and you put some of that 3M goop stuff on there, then wrap it with black tape, and then another shrink, just double, triple, doing everything just to make sure. Just more time consuming, everything else, maybe a little cheaper, but how much is your time worth? So give or take, these are definitely, a lot faster, but the price is just nuts. But I don't, it depends how much you do.
Is there an expiration date on those? Or shelf life?
Not that I've ever seen.
You're not gonna find that splice in the car.
No.
That'd be something you should tell Wade to carry, because he's always looking for new products, and that would be a really great product for him to have in.
I buy all my wire, everything else from Dakota Supply Group, which used to be Roosevelt. They got different, there's one in here in Boulder, but they got them all around the state. They're based out of La Crosse. They changed it to Dakota Supply a couple years ago, changed their name. But that's normally where I find, those. But I'm sure if you go to any other local, wholesale stores where they get electrical stuff on. That being said, has anybody bought any wire lately? Like maybe some 4/0 aluminum, 3-plex or 4-plex or anything like that? No price on it? Anything like that? I just called this morning to check in the 4-wire, which is 4/0, number 2 for the ground, was a 275 foot. 3-wire was 270, so you might as well just get the 4. Just the way it works sometimes with what they had. I haven't bought any for a while, so I'm not sure how the price has been going. I have, usually I have like a 1,000-foot spool, number 2, and 4/0 on, kind of always have them on hand. When I get low on one, I just buy another one and just have it, because there's always a family member or somebody who's gonna be in the garage or doing something or whatever, so. Well, I said, but I just haven't bought any probably for a year. But that's what they told me this morning. I knew I was gonna do this somewhere, so I figured I'd just call them quick. And so, yeah, it was cheaper to buy the 4-wire, really, only 5 cents more. But you can't add a 4-wire for that, so.
Who do you get it from?
That was from Dakota Supply. Yeah. I don't know what Wade to get it to you for, the shipping and all that. I guess I've never really had, been able to get a better price from him, on wire anyway, so, or anybody else. It's just, like I said, it's convenient for me because it's right up the road and my park's only 15
You
miles.
just pick it
south.
up yourself?
Pardon?
You pick it up right from?
Yeah, I think they'll deliver, but I do, I just go up there, the trailer or truck, whatever, and throw it in there quick, so. Just works out really good that way. Also, any of that stuff you get from any of us, lugs if you need other lugs, if you're gonna be adding on or anything, of course you can buy anything you want. You don't need to buy a whole new box or whatever, change stuff around, or maybe, I don't know if any of you guys, if you do loop feed or whatever, a lot of times there's only place to loop onto the next one, But if you're going somewhere where you want to tee off, you can order a box like that right from Wade or whatever, or just order the lug setup to put in there so you can go 2 ways, or add on your own stuff. Like I said, I'm right here local in Sand Country. Like I said, trenching and all that's real easy. I've got good power. I've got Wisconsin Public Service, so I'm not like on the end of the line or anything like some of you guys might have problems with, or you've got lower voltage coming in to start with or anything like that. Mine's really good. I'll, might drop, if it drops in the road, I might go across with something bigger like 350 MCM or something like that to get to where I'm actually going to start using the power, and then loop feed 4/0 from there or whatever, type thing to just beef the wire up a little bit. But I've been lucky, I guess I should say. I don't really have any power issues. I got it spread out, but I got some lines that go maybe 350 MCM for 500 feet, and then another 4/0 for 1,000 feet, feeding 10 sites with 50 amp on them, with probably 8 of the 10 trailers on the seasonal sites are park models, and I don't have any problem at all.
You're running that all on one breaker then?
Pardon?
You're running it all?
All off on a 200 amp service, yeah.
So you're running 10?
Yep. 10, and that was kind of what the calculation was with it. I waited until now we're getting it really like you probably do 6, and if you want to not really worry about having any problems, but calculation was you could do 10 years ago, but like I said, a lot of people would have problems,
How big of mains do you have?
How big?
Well, the 800 amp mains?
4 or 600, which service is coming from.
I didn't know if you have restrictions to yours, or, I guess if you get down to Columbia, they get charged differently if you got bigger.
Right, that's the other thing we're going to talk about too, is I know that's a big thing as far as power distribution and load centers, and you guys will, because I don't have that, problem, but we'll talk about that here in just a minute. Does somebody else have something?
So are you using a 125 amp breaker to break this apart, how the 200 amp panel, or is that how you separate them on a thing?
Well, if it's a 400 amp panel, I'm separating the two 200s.
Right, so what
Yep.
size breaker, when you're saying you're running that kind of feed to them, are you running off of that for that 4/0 wire?
Just 200 amp. A 200 amp breaker is all I'm using.
In a 200 amp panel?
Yes.
So you're using one breaker for that whole load?
Yep.
You're not separating loads at all?
No. No, and like I said, it depends what's coming to you. What's coming to you has a lot to do with what you got to work with, obviously. And like I said, I haven't had any problem. I'm not saying that you won't, but a lot of it is, if you guys are out further and you're at the end of the line and whatever else, it can make a big difference.
Well, we're adding on to that, so my question is, because we're adding on another 400 amp, or 2 400 amp breakers for new sites,
Mm.
And what's calculated out is to have two 200 amp panels with a separate disconnect, but then have 125 amp breakers feeding so many trailers on each side of that one panel.
So you're just breaking it down
We're
more?
bringing, yeah, that's what that is. We come out with a 4-out wire.
Yeah. So I don't know why you would have to do that, I guess is what I'm saying. Because the 4-aught wire's rated for it, so,
But you're
if you
just,
wanted to separate sections out even more, you know, to have
you're
them.
just coming off a 200 amp shut-off. not-
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
So it's just one shut-off switch. and
yeah,
it's
one main, yeah,
Looping to all the 50s.
yeah.
See, the trick always is what's the distance? It's all about
Distance.
distance, you know? You try to get in the middle and go two directions. If you can't, if you're going distance, you gotta upsize your wire for it'll never make it.
So my question is, are you putting in a 400 amp panel and then coming off
No,
of
two
that?
200 amp panels.
Two 200?
CT cabinet inside.
So instead of doing the panels, I think it'd be easier to just do two shut-offs.
Two disconnects right there.
Shut-offs, and then looping them from there, instead of putting in the actual panels. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
You do also have to
Right,
check
right,
your volts
yeah.
though, because they have a range of 15 to 26, I think, that's all they have to bring you.
Yeah.
So if they bring you 17, you're already screwed.
You don't have enough.
Yeah, and then there will be, like Bud says, distance is a big thing. You may have to go to bigger wire, or maybe go to copper on some stuff, you know, you can help it out, but the cost is just you know, what everybody's playing with too. And how you're doing your panels now, like I said, these guys have got some, who's your? Columbia?
Adams Columbia.
Adams Columbia. And some of these companies have got some different things going on as far as services coming in and load and how they're breaking it up and basic demand charges, you know, the money all comes into play and how you do all this stuff. So why don't you go into that right now? Generally, they were doing is charging you extra.
Well, anything you hit over 40 kilowatts, you get a demand charge, which is like $69 a kilowatt, plus your, whatever you're using. So for guys that just did electrical a couple of years ago, and they made them put in or advocated 800 amp panels, so he hits it in the first 10 minutes, he opens the doors.
Yeah.
So he's got demand charges all year long at $70 a kilowatt, and I mean, some of those bills are $23,000.
We just put in 3 200 amp services with a CT cabinet with a load center with 6 200 amp breakers in it. And I put 36 sites on it at the time. That was what it was all rated for as far as doing the load calculations. I took 3 meters, went down to 1 meter. Here we're going to save some money because we're paying $1,500 a month for meter fees. So got my first bill, well, that meter cost 3 times as much as the 3 we got in place, so they saved nothing there. We used to pay like 11 cents a kilowatt for electricity. When we hit with demand charges, I'm up to almost 20 to 25 cents. Well, it's just killing me. So the guy that was being a prick at the power company, he quit, the new guy came in, I was able to negotiate with the new guy and took 2 of those services down to just flat rate and get rid of demand charges. One still had too much power on it. So what I'm doing now is I'm just taking those old services that have the 200, the big load center with the 6 breakers in. It's too expensive to pay the demand charge and have a large power charge. So I'm just putting in 2 more meters, breaking those things out, and putting in a couple more amp services. And it's really what you have to do. It just kills you. It's just too expensive.
Yeah, I did the same thing last fall. It cost me, I think it was about $1,000 for the parts and the electrician, and I figure I'll get it all back in the first month.
Yeah, it's worth it. But now Adams Columbia is having to upgrade a lot of the services coming into our park. So a lot of this costs are going to be shifted back to them because they don't have enough chips to feed the park. So we're going to be able to, I'm going to get them to pay for a bunch of it now. But yeah, you want to stay away from the demand charges. I know Pat's here.
He's here tomorrow.
He has a seminar about it.
Yeah.
But the demand charge is just it's too expensive. You're paying $100 grand a year for electricity. It's way too expensive.
Does anybody else have any different power companies that are doing anything like that you know of, or anything?
We run a line, and I'm running 800 amp box panels, you know, and they're fine with it. I'm not getting no upcharge, no nothing, no demand charges. But doesn't Adams Columbia buy their power from the line?
I'm can't tell you.
That's what I heard.
A lot of it they broker.
Yeah, yeah.
But you gotta stay below that break point. where they're gonna hit you with demand charges, because once you break that, you're stuck at that, unless you do something
Yeah, the
different.
challenge is that breakpoint's at a 200 amp panel. So if you put a 400 amp panel in there during Memorial Day with big rigs, and it's gonna be hot like it was last year, you're already screwed, and if you go over twice in a year, you have demand charges for the rest of the year.
So you just gotta split it up.
So we're still getting
Yeah.
demand
It's
charges
worth
in
it.
the wintertime when we're not even, barely using anything. So it'd be nice if it reset after 30 days, or you got half a dozen for the year or whatever.
And we've been really fortunate, I don't know, we talked to Power at one of these seminars 5, 6 years ago. I worked on a deal with them where I actually killed power. I had 33 meters of park. I killed the power in the whole campground during the winter for 4 months, 5 months. It saved me $1,500 a month. That's money I can reinvest in upgrading the system. Well, now they're putting in all new meters throughout the whole area, and they're telling me they can't do that for me anymore. So they can't shut me down.
Because they want to be able to read them for no
Yeah,
reason.
so it's like, well, I don't know, I think it's a policy decision, but would have been nice if you would continue. That's a lot of money to save every year.
Yeah, a lot of them.
Yeah. We've been doing it for probably 8 years.
Yeah, would you have put,
Well, we struggled a lot of times, you put a 600 amp, 800 amp, 1200 amp panel, and you sit here and go, okay, the guy's if he's going overhead, it's easier to come down into a panel like that, but if you've got transformers, you can usually come out of a transformer with 4 or 5 200 amp pedestals, and they'll give you 100 feet of wire with that. So a lot of times, we'll just have them centrally locate the pedestal of the transformer, and then we'll put a 200 amp pedestal over here, one over there, and then come off of those with 125 amps each direction. And we don't have the cost of that CT cabinet and all that demand meter crap, and again, it all depends on how your park is laid out. But, we've always tried to stay away from the CT cabinets and go with separate things. But some places, they don't want you to have all of them. I mean, I got 39 meters in my park, and they say, I have one.
And when I learned last week, because I met with them last week, I thought it was the CT cabinet that was causing the demand charges. It's not. You can actually get demand charges on a 400 amp pedestal if it's not used there. So you still got to break it down. That's something new. I just learned last week.
so it's probably good separating it. Yes, it costs you more money, probably for some panels, but maybe it's forcing some people to do it right, let's say, or, type of thing. But the thing that gets me is it seems like they're the only ones that have this, only power company that seems to have this, these extra, this big can add a big charge type thing. So this are,
I was gonna say, Xcel Energy has it, but they don't have that big of a charge.
yeah. Yeah, I haven't heard it from anybody but these guys, so.
Oh, it's been bad. My biggest months are in April, early April before I open. Some seasonal comes in just to sharpen some knives in his camper. I'll get a $200 bill. He turns his radio on and makes some toast. And I'll get a $200 bill. And he was the only person that was there that week.
Yeah. I agree, that's why I told Mike, you don't come in, you don't turn on, you do not come in until, because, yeah.
Do they have, public service, one of the things we talk about is, whether you're off-peak, on-peak, as far as charging, do they have that option for you guys?
I do for some equipment, like we have pool heat that's electric for our indoor pool. So we do have those that, they have the ability to shut things on and off, and we save some money on it.
Okay. Does anybody else have that, use that? I use it, it's a great thing if it's available to you, whether you're on peak time or off-peak time, as far as basically it cuts the rate in half or doubles it, but the off-peak times are the weekends and holidays and nighttime and stuff like that, which is when you're going to be using the most electricity in your park and you're getting the cheaper rate, for it. So it actually is they'll list it, like public service, will list it on each meter every month, how much money is saved by being on off-peak, set up for that type of thing. So I don't know if anybody else use that.
So that comes right under your bill then?
They list it right on the bill. It says for each one how much money you save by being on that setup. So maybe something to check with if you don't use it or if you don't know if it's available from your power company.
If your sites are metered, then just go ahead and average out the two, peak and low, and just bill your customer.
Yeah, well, that's the thing that happens with the seasonal sites, is in general, all your campers are there on the weekends and all that. When you're building them, you're reading your meters, you're charging them the regular rate. Probably, who knows how much percentage of that is really, it's really the off-peak rate, so you're really making money on that, but there's no way of knowing, to separate them all, so it can work out good for you that way, also. So. Yeah.
I got a smaller problem with electrical out the campground. I got WPS, I replaced all my pedestals, they own the meters, each site's got 100 amp to it. My 110 GFI tamper-proof ones, they trip and you can't reset them at all. I called them up and they said that they've never heard of it. It's the new meters that they put in. And I called Alliant Energy just to ask them. They said, oh yeah, it sends a signal to all their electrical outlets to see if they're being used, and that's what's tripping them. But I can't get them to reset.
So they're basically shot, is what it.
And my code,
It kills
have
them.
them working.
Is that smart meter? Are they using smart meter?
Those ones that they can read over the smart meter. I had them for Century Open, we were the first ones to get them in our area. And they work good with the old pedestals, but now you put in those new GFI ones.
So is it putting juice back on a neutral then? Or how's it sending juice down to the?
I don't know. I buy the boxes. I have, through WPS, I can't use 100 amp pedestals. I have to use 200 amp pedestals. Because I got 100 amp service there to each site. They checked them out and they said it's not strong enough. It's not big enough for their demand. But it's just tripping those ones and I can't reset them.
What do you mean you got 100 amp service?
Yeah, I got 100 amp service to each site.
100
When I have to replace the
100 amp
pedestals-
wire?
Huh?
100 amp wire? You don't have a 100 amp box, pedestal.
Yes.
You have 100 amp plug in there, that available
I
if somebody
50,
needs
30,
it?
and 20, and run them all at the same time. There's 100 amps to each one. It used to be a mobile park. It used to be a mobile home park.
So he's staying with that.
So when I tried to get the 100 amp pedestals, I took them one in there before I bought them all. And he said, nope, you gotta go 200 amp pedestals. Well, they supply the meters, I supply the box. But it's tripping all my 110 breakers, GFI ones. And they won't reset. But when I called Alliant Energy, they said, yeah, because it's sending a signal to each outlet to see what's being used.
They're saying the meter is sending a signal?
Those new smart meters. Because I don't do nothing, I don't have to read them or anything, they read them over the internet. Yeah.
If you had a GFI receptacle, or is it the GFI breaker that's tripping?
The receptacle.
The receptacle, so wouldn't that trip another receptacle in like whatever you're plugging into it? Like our campers will have you go in and hit the GFI inside the camper and it'll trip it too.
Are they looping the GFI anywhere in these systems? You know, you got a line and load on the GFI. One side you can use that as a breaker and run another outlet without putting that in. I don't understand. I don't
It's not
understand.
tripping the breaker, it's not, when somebody plugs, say, a grill in, and they're running the grill, also no trip.
They're overloading.
Well, anything, it could be a heat and run.
Are you putting 15 amp GFIs in or 20s?
It's 20s.
So they only go bad is when,
Somebody plugs something in.
well, they work fine, yes, when they send the signal is when they go bad,
It sounds like they're sending a signal anytime,
all the
all
time.
the time.
So if you put a GFI tester plug in there and you can't get power to it, and if that's plugged in with the meter doing its thing, it pops that tester breaker
I
light?
never tried that. I just get,
Because that's no load. All that's gonna do is tell you if the system's working, the GFI.
It'll work.
Every time you plug it in, it's
It'll
gonna
work.
tell you it's gonna tell you if it's wired right, or is there a wiring problem in the system somewhere, if you got to open neutral, if it's, but anything that's tied backwards anywhere throughout the system, and then if you're not tying that neutral wire that's back into the breaker assembly, I put a $3 tester in there, flip the breaker on and see if that, and go with your theory that it's the meter, and if that stays on, it's not that, it's what people are plugging into, it's causing the problem.
Well, they're all true.
I understand that. Well, they're all wired by the same guy.
No, they.
So there's the problem, put the tester in it, see if the lights stay on. If the light pops off with that tester, then you gotta, then there's something causing that issue.
Yeah. So then you put a new one in, and it'll work right away.
Right,
And then all of a sudden, that one gone, they come back, hey, the trip, I can't get it to reset.
I can just switch to the GMI breakers.
The only time I ever seen that is like if you have a problem, if you have a fault in your neutral.
right. And that's what the tester's gonna tell you. By plugging that in, it's gonna tell you if it's right or not. It's idiot proof. You plug it in and the 3 lights tell you where your problem is to look, so.
Electrician come on, I had the power company come on, look at them, and he said they're all wired right.
Okay. I don't know how that, because I got smart meters and I don't have GFIs popping with the smart meters, so
Yeah.
Do you have?
public service. Yep.
Okay.
We've had them for 20 years on some of the residents.
It just sounds like a high neutral. I mean, that's what it,
Something's going back in that.
Yeah, I mean, you assume that the boxes are all good and wired, and they're all wired the same, you come from Millbank, wherever you got them from. You're assuming that they're all, that's all right, which I'm sure they are.
So does that happen?
But what is the system in general wired right?
Why are you getting the ground back into that system to make that GFI?
Right.
There's an imbalance in that system somewhere that's causing, we got the pop, that's what that works. So do you got something leaking through the ground, going to the pedestal, and that's where it's coming from? Where you got a scored wire underneath and so it could be deeper than.
Where I've seen that is if you test off one leg, I've seen it, I've had this same thing happen, and I was scratching my head last year on this one. When you test off one leg, and it's at 120, and I test off the other leg, and it says 40 on it.
Right?
Yeah.
You got to
And
balance.
like, it doesn't even make sense. It's totally out of balance, and the only way that it can happen is what it actually is doing is feeding electricity back through, because your ground is hooked up through it. So
The other thing I found is because people plug in the adapters, so they got a 50 amp plug in the RV. And they plug a 50 to a 30 and plug it into the 30 instead of plugging it into the 50 where it's supposed to be. And then they're causing an imbalance in my electrical system. They say, hey, I got no power. Okay, why? I go see, I hook on 2 hooks around the wires and I got a big imbalance, more than 10% than you're allowed. And then you go to see what you're doing at the campsite, training people, throw them damn things out, you're gonna burn the parks. First you're gonna burn up your unit because you're causing the imbalance because the electrical systems in some of the RVs they have those balance, they keep that balance and it's flipping and it's only got one leg to work on and it's putting the heat into your system that you would get an imbalance of
Do you think
that
it's
much.
Do you think it's the power coming into the box, the meter?
I think you got a ground fault.
Yeah,
I mean, I think it's on.
it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. You just gotta figure out,
On the plug-in itself.
no, in the ground.
ground, yeah.
You got something leaking back to that pedestal through the ground.
Each site's got.
No, if you got one and it's looped through the system,
No, I
it's,
don't have a loop. Each site's got 100 amp running to it from the transformer.
but if it's
They're all-
leaking,
it's all a home
it's all,
Yeah,
Okay, so
I got transformers, and then they run.
So each one is a home run back, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Everyone goes from 100 right back to the transformer.
And you got multiple transfers, it's not all just all coming from one road. Just all
They
off
run
one.
like 5 or 6.
So if he's got the problem in his whole park, then that, you can't believe there's something wrong on each one of them.
And
So,
the power company came out, and WPS came out, and they looked at it, and they said, everything's wired right in the boxes.
yeah.
well,
But then when I called the Lions, I asked them if they had heard of anything like that, they said, well, the meters, smart meters, send a signal to all the outlets. And he said, it's probably tripping it.
I mean, I would be asking for physical proof. I'd be like, well, show me how it does it, and then show me on a meter what it actually looks like.
Yeah.
And if the guy's feeding me a line.
Because it's frustrating, because they're all tripping, and you can't reset them.
so what used to be a mobile home park originally,
Right, and if.
3-wire,
100 amps for each side.
3-wire system, not a 4-wire.
No, it's gotta be a 4-wire, so.
Not back then, no, because those are house service, 3 wires.
Our parks are 3-wire.
Yeah.
And it's and you get ground rods, you put ground rods in years ago, weren't required, we've had to put ground rods over the years.
Yeah, I've got ground rods and everything.
So would that solve this problem if you just put a ground rod in there?
I-
Each
Hook
one,
it up and see what happens.
each one's got a ground rod to it.
Each,
It's got 2 ground rods to each.
Each.
100 amp, that's 2. Those are 100 amp pulses, they should have 2.
It says got 2 on each one.
Yeah. I don't know.
but who owns the wire? The power company?
Yep.
So it's their problem, call the FCC or whatever the hell it is. They have to make it work. They own the wire, they own the box, they own the meter.
I've been
It
discussing.
has to work.
Yeah, I don't know, another helpful tool, in this case, I don't know if everybody's got one, line finder. This is a Raycom, this is this one's pretty old, I've been thinking about checking in to get new ones, a new one. But basically, you just hook up to any line, they give you a wire, everything with it. So I can hook up to a line coming to a pedestal or whatever, and I've got a little ground rod here to limp on, and it sends a signal through the line, and you just sweep across. Depends on what the wire is, you know, if you have bare wire or something, but it'll go deep as I do, you know. I guess I've never really seen if I could find something 20 feet down.
No, I don't mean that,
But it'll definitely do it for me, yeah, easy.
It'll find the power company lines, they're not 4
Yeah.
or 5 feet. I bought the same one after Scott showed it to me.
Yeah, really.
Does that work on live wires or?
No, you don't want, I mean, no, because then you just unhook it and hook up, but you don't want to use the ground because everything's connected together, you know, if you're trying a specific line. But it'll work, you know, if you want to find a PVC pipe or anything, you can shove a wire through it or shove you know, and hook up to that and find that if you want to find a water line or sewer line or anything like that. But it works good. It's not, you know, not as accurate as a trencher, but.
Yeah.
So I've got 3 of them, because I've got 2 that are mechanical that'll find it every time, I guarantee it. And then but they're probably, was your $800 maybe for your new
I
one?
paid $1,000 for mine, it was the best investment. I couldn't do my job without it.
Yeah.
It's dangerous.
So I want to say 600 to 1,000, probably depending on, you know, how good it was.
It's an art, it's not a science.
Yes.
You're gonna find it's not perfect.
Not perfect.
It also depends on soil conditions and how wet the soil is. If it's really dry, it's rain every month.
Yeah.
Doesn't work so good.
If I dig it up, I'll find
If
it.
it's wet, I mean, if you know you wanna find something, throw a sprinkler out there the day before.
The one that,
Right.
the one that we just bought, one that was $3,800. But I had to test to make sure, you know, it's to the inch of
Yeah.
exactly
That's
how
more
far
something that
down it
Digger's
is.
Hotline has, the ones that they have,
Yeah.
you know, they don't have to hook up anything, they just go and sweep and find it. you
But
know,
when
that-
it's nice, it's like you'd be using a bucket, you know, you can actually measure and see how far down you can scrape
Right.
before you have to get in the hand dig it and stuff, so. Yeah,
Right, if you've done all your own, you pretty much know how deep everything is and whatever, it's, you know, obviously may not be as helpful that way, but.
And the problem with doing it on your own, most of us have purchased parts.
Right.
So we have no idea, I mean,
Right.
I'm changing water lines, I'm finding wires that are bare underground.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm afraid of this.
If you're finding a live wire, the rule is 2 feet on either side. You're supposed to be hand digging.
Yep.
You're not supposed to be putting a
Bucket
bucket
down.
over it.
Yeah, well, and hopefully if you're using this, you're not finding a live wire, I mean, that's the light. But there are other ones you can find, you know, a lot of guys have that are more expensive ones that'll find, you know, any type
They're pretty
of
neat.
leak or anything, you know, and go with it. It's nice to have, just like anything else. It's not that expensive really if you're doing a lot of your own stuff, so it really is a good investment. As far as trenchers or anything like that, I mean, both of my trenchers came from a rental place that we bought afterwards, you know, whatever, and buy them new. I think my big ARPS trencher, I think my dad bought that from, he leased it for like a year from a rental place. And at the end of the thing, the guy says you make one more payment and it's yours. I think he paid $1,000, you know, this is late 70s maybe when he got that one or something like that. It's done every foot of sewer pipe and everything else in our park the whole time. It just keeps on going. If you maintain it just like anything else, put a new chain on it, I think about 15 years ago. And so, but there are good deals to be found like that, and you can make your, save your money in one job, really. And plus, everybody just likes to have that kind of stuff. More toys you got, the better, right? So, anybody have any other questions on anything? Mechanical, electrical, we've been, like I said, the last 3 hours, kind of the same guys in here talking about stuff. One thing I was gonna bring up, I guess one of the new pushes as far as nationally, or Wisconsin, I guess, is that everything is gonna have to be inspected electrically, coming up here in the future. Anything you do campground-wise, or campgrounds is specifically listed in this section. We just had a little discussion on it a while back, but that's one of the proposed things coming up
Who's
here.
gonna be doing the inspections is my question.
Well, obviously, just like everything else, it'll depend on your county, your township, and all that kind of stuff, and who's gonna,
Because currently, right now, our township says we're not touching anything commercial. So I, right now, don't have anybody inspecting.
right?
Is that gonna be like an NEC code?
Yeah, the way it sounds, maybe not necessarily NEC, because as far as national, but Wisconsin, adopts that, and then they're gonna add on. I think that was, were you there, Bud? Was that meeting we had? Was that a board meeting we talked about it maybe a couple months ago? But
That was, Gary brought it up from Buffalo Lake. 'cause
yeah,
he's
Gary,
the mayor.
yes. Yeah, he's
Brought
the
it up
mayor
as it
down
came to
at
his
Montello,
attention.
yeah.
Well, they were-
And then we sent it the way,
Yeah, that whole seminar was based on that the state is gonna mandate the counties
Yeah,
to have people who would then be responsible. The state's passing it off to the
Yeah.
counties, okay?
so whether or not that happens, and if it does, who you're gonna have in your county or your township or whatever, it could be the next
Because I know for us, the only thing we had to have inspected was the mains coming from the power company. Everything beyond the power company, we could do at will. Now they're saying they want somebody to look at what we're doing, okay? And they want a licensed electrician to be the one signing off. My hope, you've heard of Jerry Anderson, who's inspecting the cabins. He's a state building inspector, to see if he could be set up where he would be the one that would just run around the campgrounds and deal with that. It's always better to have one person who knows everything about our business instead of 72 counties, 72 different ideas.
Is this Jerry a master electrician?
Well, he's state buildings, he covers
They
everything,
need
plumbing,
a master
electrical,
electrician.
but he signs off on plumbing, electrical, HVAC,
Joe,
so.
he should be a master electrician. I understand what you're saying, but just my opinion, he should be a master.
We've all been wiring pedestals, and you don't have to be a master electrician to wire damn pedestals.
Safe
It's
for
pretty
the
simple,
customer.
Wouldn't that have to do with the code that you live in? Because I live in a village, we're in a village, so there is no code in our village for electrical. Now, if you step out into the county, then they have their own separate rules.
Everybody's subject to national electric code, that's just the way it is.
Yeah, one thing I noticed about this one was that campgrounds were specifically
the
listed. in this
campgrounds,
proposed
farms,
thing.
and a couple
Yeah.
other things were specifically. stated.
Yeah, stated, so,
See,
well, like I said, what comes out of it, we'll see.
Farmers have been doing their own electrical work since the beginning of time. Now all of a sudden, they see an opening, a window to guys like us.
Anybody got anything else?
Only one suggestion, all the electrical pedestals I've been putting in for the last years, I do put a pagoda light or an LED light on all of them for a reason, because usually when they get run over, it's dark and people can't see them. And it's pretty cheap, $45, park looks like an airstrip at night, but, you can see them and you got a better chance of not backing into them. And they can't, and when the lights are on, they can see the plugs and the receptacles. So if they don't have a flashlight, they can at least get the plug, where it belongs. So just a suggestion,
I've done the same thing. I originally bought the little 7-watt contact fluorescents. I get a 1-watt LED, costs like 97 cents a year to run the 1 watt, that 1-watt bulb. If it's on 24/7 for a whole year, so it hardly costs nothing. You got 300 of those, your campsite's $300 a year to run. The place lit up all night, it's nice. And plus, we've had a lot fewer problems with teenagers since we put lights everywhere.
And you can add those on to the kerners. You know, they got add-on kits for if you didn't want to put them on your kernel pedestal and stuff.
We talked about that with Wade, you know, putting the light and have a dusk to dawn sensor on it. He said, with the new light bulbs now, you're gonna spend 10, 15 bucks on that sensor. It'll take 10 years to
Yeah,
pay
they
for the
work,
sensor.
but
He
they
said,
work.
just turn it on and let it just go. It's too cheap.
Probably at least 15, 20 years to pay for that sensor.
Right. And by then it'll go bad, you know, to replace the thing, so you'll never get your money.
Well, I won't be around, so who cares?
Yeah. Come on, Dave, you're gonna live forever.
The LED will be lit, but the sun's gonna be on.
All right, well, I guess that's about it, unless anyone has anything else, thanks for coming. And, Mark's got tickets back there if you want some. All I want is my 4x4 bag from the